This week, I was having a conversation with my wife about a situation she was experiencing at an organization where she volunteers. And Jess, who's one of the wisest people I know, did what she does, and she boiled things down to its essence as she was describing the situation. She said, one of the consistent problems I see with organizations that use a lot of volunteers is that they're breeding grounds for resentment. And she's right. This is right. She's right. She went on to state, at most any job, there are tasks that you'd rather not do. But you do them anyways. Why do you do them? Well, you're getting paid to do them. That's why you do them. It's a job. It's not leisure time. But nonprofits and other organizations that rely heavily on volunteers are very susceptible to bitterness, to resentment, and the like. Why is this? Well, because everyone is working hard, and everyone is not getting paid, right? And our emotions, and I would say our sinful hearts, tell us things like, no one appreciates all the work you're doing, or, oh, those other people are taking advantage of you. They don't work hard, or whatever. And if these thoughts go unchecked, they can become a great problem for us. And what am I getting at? Well, we may find ourselves in a similar situation with resentment, because our God has called us to pour ourselves out in the service of others, and to do so cheerfully. A few verses, Philippians 2, 3 through 4, let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others. 1 Peter 4, 8 through 9, and above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another, and I want to highlight this, without grumbling. Without grumbling. And I think we do that. I think we are hospitable. I think we are joyful. Trinity, we do this. Every week, this church, in ways that most of us are unaware of. The members come beside each other in prayer and hospitality and lending an ear or a helping hand. And I'm an elder here, and I think I'm aware of maybe 10% of all the work you guys do for each other. But this is my warning. Life gets difficult, bills pile up, relationships become strained, and there is a temptation to fall into self-pity or bitterness or resentment or the thing I really want to highlight today, the gateway drug to these other sins, complaining. You see, I was reading through Philippians this week, and on Friday I stumbled upon this verse, and I just laughed at myself as I read it. It says, do all things without complaining and disputing. That's Philippians 2:14. I read that, and I immediately texted my wife, and I said, all things? All of them? Every single thing? That's a lot of things to not complain about. And I'm not sure about you, but I've noticed that my temptation to complain has not really diminished with the amount of blessing that the Lord's given me. And so I've told the story a lot, but I've only actually told it to Cooper Brownlee, I think, so I'm going to share it with the rest of you guys. But I say this one a lot. 13 years ago, I had a Fender P bass. It's like a 4-string bass that, something like Cooper would play back there. And I also had a nice bass amp, an Ampeg 210, and I liked it. I wasn't good, but I liked playing it because I liked the amount of noise it made. And I'd been married 2 years, and we had to sell it to buy groceries, right? Because we had no money. My hours were down at work, and me and Jess were living on the razor's edge, budget-wise. So I sold my bass amp, and we were able to buy groceries for that week. That was great. So that was 13 years ago. This week, our van engine blew a cylinder, and I looked at it, and I laughed, and I said, well, that's disappointing. And then I pulled money out of my emergency fund. I paid for it. We got it fixed, and then that was kind of the end of that story. And that is unbelievable. That's an unbelievable thing to have happened. It was an emergency, but actually it wasn't. It just happened, and we dealt with it. God has been so unbelievably good to me and to us. And my point is that the temptation to complain and the rate that I fall into it, that we all can fall into it, is every bit as present now as it was then, despite God's provision. So watch yourself. Watch your heart. If you're really going to go for it, I would maybe enlist your spouse to help you with this, if you want to. And do all things without complaining. Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God, without fault, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. And this reminds us of our need to confess our sins.